And you are as barbaric as them.
Well, we're not as barbaric
you are
as them.
as barbaric
of course
as
we're not. What? Because we don't do the exact Islamic burial. We're as barbaric. It's as if we'd flown planes into buildings. This is moral relativism gone mad. It's worse than moral relativism. It's an inversion of morality.
You can't choose your morality. Bits. You can't choose bits of it.
Well, you do.
In a spirited exchange, Douglas Murray engages in a debate with Yasmin Alibhai-Brown regarding the events surrounding Osama bin Laden's demise in 2011. The discussion centers on differing perspectives about whether bin Laden was indeed killed by the U.S. Navy SEALs in 2011. Yasmin asserts her commitment to universal principles, yet she readily condemns any aggression from Western nations, while seemingly hesitating to denounce similar or more severe acts by our Muslim adversaries. Fortunately, Douglas remains astute and is not swayed by such double standards. Hear what she has to say.
Should Osama bin Laden have been executed or arrested to face trial?
Yasmin Alibhai-Brown.
He should have been taken. He was unarmed, we know that. If he'd been armed and posing a real danger, I can see the point of doing what happened.
Yasmin cannot comprehend those who argue that, at the very least, the operation did not involve bombing an entire compound. She believes this perspective diminishes the ideals of an exemplary democracy and the president she once admired. However, she now views him as the ugly American. In her opinion, he should have faced a trial, similar to how we held the Nazis accountable. The erosion of American democracy through practices like torture and rendition deeply troubles Yasmin, leaving her feeling quite despondent. Douglas Murray expresses a contrasting viewpoint on this subject and does so without reservation. His perspective diverges significantly from the prevailing narrative, and he is forthright in sharing it.
The issue of whether or not he was armed is, I mean, obviously Yasmin is an expert in these kind of operations, but if you are one of the military, I can continue, if you're one of the military personnel in the compound in that situation, you don't know whether he's got a suicide vest. You don't know whether he's going to pull another bomb.
Further, Douglas addresses other issues like that. The notion of trying Osama bin Laden raises significant challenges. He questioned, how can you find a jury that doesn't already hold opinions about him? Finding an impartial judge is equally problematic. He considers the ongoing difficulties in attempting to try Khalid Sheikh Mohammed in New York. That is nearly impossible. Dugas says that President Obama ultimately resorted to a military tribunal for that case. This approach doesn't diminish America. Rather, it reminds us of who has been right in this conflict, the victims, and who the perpetrator is. He finds that Osama bin Laden denied any rights to the 3,000 people affected by 9/11 in New York and Washington. Douglas Murray is thankful that this chapter has now concluded. In this upcoming scene, we observe a heated confrontation between Yasmin and Douglas due to their divergent viewpoints. Douglas Murray's argument centers around the idea that Yasmin and many others are holding America and its allies to an impossibly high standard. He contends that no society can realistically meet these expectations. Even the worst enemies of a society, according to Murray, should be buried in accordance with their own customs. Essentially, he criticizes the unrealistic and exceptional demands placed on Western societies and their treatment of adversaries.
Customs that they would want. You know, I can't raise it in me, Yasmin, to think that whether or not the customs around his burial were perfect in your eyes is the most important thing in the bin Laden story.
Hear the reaction Yasmin is giving.
And you are as barbaric as them.
Well, we're not as barbaric
you are
as them.
As barbaric
of
as
course
them.
we're not. What? Because we don't do the exact Islamic burial. We're as barbaric. It's as if we'd flown planes into buildings. This is moral relativism gone mad. It's worse than moral relativism. It's an inversion of morality.
You can't choose your morality. Bits. You can't choose bits of it.
Well, you do.
I don't.
Douglas Murray's perspective often sparks intense debates. His unapologetic stance challenges conventional narratives, making him a polarizing figure in such discussions. Yasmin Alibhai-Brown is a prominent commentator and writer. She engaged in various discussions on topics like multiculturalism and free speech. She critiques the concept of multiculturalism and explores how young metropolitan Londoners perceive themselves and their world in a multicultural context. And she highlights the delicate balance between free expression and responsible discourse.
Is it freedom of speech?
Of subtlety at all, Douglas. Why don't you just listen? Why don't you listen to my words instead of saying I disagree with that?
Your first point, such as it was that Osama bin Laden would be the obvious equivalent to make this. I don't think that is an obvious equivalent to make.
Douglas, unwavering in his deep-seated belief in the fundamental right to freedom of speech, ardently defended the principle, even as he expressed reservations about the wisdom of broadcasting Osama bin Laden's speeches. Yasmin, ever curious and fearless in her exploration of the boundaries of free expression, listened intently, her eyes flashing with a mixture of intensity and challenge. She was determined to probe deeply into Douglas's neoconservative stance, questioning whether it genuinely reflected the diverse array of perspectives within the think tank. The room was charged with a palpable tension, as the clash of ideologies created an electric atmosphere, each argument adding to the growing buzz of intellectual friction. Douglas-Murray, a British author, conservative political commentator, and cultural critic, holds a wide range of significant views that have sparked considerable discussion and debate. Let's delve into some key aspects of his perspective in greater detail. Murray is particularly renowned for his critical stance on immigration and Islam. He consistently challenges prevailing narratives, arguing that history should be viewed as a complex tapestry with multiple facets. One of his notable arguments centers on questioning why Europe is often expected to perpetually atone for its colonial past, whereas other nations with similar histories are not held to the same standards of restitution and guilt. He believes this discrepancy in historical accountability needs to be addressed. When discussing historical issues, Murray advocates for a more balanced and less accusatory approach. He stresses the importance of recognizing both the virtues and the vices in historical narratives. Murray contends that while it is essential to acknowledge historical complexities and injustices, it is equally important to foster a spirit of mutual respect and cooperation. He believes that such an approach can lead to more constructive dialogues about the past and present. Beyond his extensive body of written work, Murray has made significant contributions through other channels as well. He founded the Center for Social Cohesion, an organization dedicated to studying extremism and terrorism. This institution has played a pivotal role in exploring these critical issues and informing public discourse. Additionally, Murray's regular engagements on prominent platforms, including various podcasts, have solidified his reputation as a leading conservative intellectual. His articulate and often provocative commentary has garnered a substantial following and influenced many public debates. Lastly, but certainly not least, Douglas-Murray is a staunch advocate for free speech. He fervently believes in the fundamental importance of this right and consistently argues for the protection of free expression in all its forms. Murray's unwavering commitment to free speech underscores much of his work and is a central theme in his efforts to challenge and expand contemporary discussions on political and cultural issues. If you want to see more of these videos, then don't forget to subscribe. Thank you until next time.